Okay. Good morning to all of you. First, let me thank Manfred and Anastasia for inviting me. It's a great opportunity to talk to you a little bit about WDSF, as it is your umbrella organization, yes? So most of the dancers usually do not know much about the structure of the governing world body for dance sport. So it's very useful to actually know some facts about the organization where you belong. Because once you become a member of an organization, you have to abide by the rules. By becoming the member, you automatically agree that you are going to follow all the rules of the organization. And unless you know what the rules and the structure and how the organization functions, sometimes we can encounter problems because we understand something in a different way than what it actually is. So during this 2 days, 3 days, we'll have various lectures on various subjects regarding WDSF. The first one today is Vision 2020. So the Vision 2020 is actually a development of the vision that was created a few years ago, which was called 2012. The Vision 2012, the main aim was to establish WDSF as the governing body for different dance sport disciplines, not only standard and Latin, but to become wider and to include other disciplines of dance sport. And by dance sport, we defined anything that is a dance and it has a competition structure. So it is a dance discipline and it has already a well-established competition structure, including a judging system, qualified adjudicators, a system of national and international competitions. The second aim was to promote dance sport as a brand, because nowadays it's all about branding. As if you don't have a recognized brand, nobody knows who you are. So it was ballroom dancing, standard dancing, Latin dancing, I don't know what, sport dancing. Every country or everybody used different names. So dance sport, written as it is, as one word with 2 capitals, yes, which is a strange way to write a word, but to make it recognizable, yes, is now the universal brand that WDSF uses. So we don't refer to ballroom dancing, we refer to dance sport. And the brand is much wider than just Latin and standard. So it includes every dance discipline that has a competition structure. So the aim of Vision 2012 was to make dance sport as a brand more global, as to spread it all over the world, more accessible. So it becomes open on a national level to all groups of people to be able to join in. As we're talking about, we already have equality, men and women. We don't have problem there. But to include a disability, people with disability, like wheelchair dancing, as to become more ageless in the sense that we have, in that respect, we are quite well structured. In the WDSF, we have everything from juvenile to senior, yes? So there is no age restriction. And especially to become more present in the media. That is still our weak spot, yes? There is not enough presence in the media, and unless in this day and age you are really present in the media, especially television, you do not exist. So that's where a lot of effort has been going to become more present. Now, the result of this Vision 2012, the culmination of that vision were the Dance Sport Games. The Dance Sport Games were the first event that actually united different forms of dance sport in one event on that scale. Of course, there were smaller events on a national, even on an international level, but never on that scale, yes? So the participants in the dance sport games were WDSF as the carrier of the project and as an initiator of the project also. Then the associate members, which is the World Rock and Roll Organization, yes, the cheerleading and the line dancing organizations, and collaborating organizations. Because some of the dance sport disciplines were not inside the WDSF or were not inside our associate members. So we had to find organizations outside the structure to collaborate on the project, which is like IDO, International Dance Organization, which has salsa and hip hop, yes, street dances. So all these organizations work together under the guidance of WDSF to create what will the competition program be. So which disciplines of dance sport are going to be included. This competition program was also coordinated with a host city, with Kaohsiung, which is in Chinese Taipei. And the disciplines that were included were boogie-woogie, cheerleading, formation, hip-hop, Latin, line dance, rock and roll, salsa, standard, taike dance, and wheelchair. Taike dance is a very particular thing to Chinese Taipei, yes? So, because the games were there, there was a consensus to include something that is specific to the host nation and to the host city. It's this combination of modern hip-hop moves with traditional dance to a modern music with sort of a traditional take on a costume. Interesting, but to us Europeans, a bit unusual. To them, it's one of the most popular dance forms they do. So it was quite impressive. The games were impressive concerning numbers. Yes? So they lasted for 5 days with 14 disciplines. There were 736 athletes, 48 countries participating, over 100 officials, and over 50,000 spectators. The capacity was 17,000, the whole, and most of the time it was full. And let me just say that dance sport events on any also multi-sport games like World Games are the first events to be sold out. Always. They're always sold out, and there are people waiting outside to get the tickets. Yes? In Cali, Colombia, those who were there, open arena, bullfight arena, also around 17,000 people each night, and people also being outside the arena because they couldn't get the tickets. So it always beats the records on attendance, how many spectators come to the event. Only the opening and closing ceremonies are close to that. So out of all this, when this Vision 2012 came to sort of a conclusion, which is not finished because, of course, the WDSF is still negotiating with other partners to come under the umbrella with other new dance disciplines. But there was a new vision needed to go parallel with that and to continue what has been already done. And this vision, the end goal is, of course, for all of us, inclusion in the Olympic Games. It's a dream. Yes. Whether we will any day achieve that dream or not, we do not know, because it doesn't depend only on the WDSF. But in order to come closer, there were a lot of areas that had to be improved. And of course, the end dream is that. But anything that improves the organization in any aspect is at the end on the benefit, for the benefit of organization itself and for the benefit of the dancers. So the new development plan was created to bring the dance sport to a new level. So a task force was established. And this task force then defined the areas that require improvement and define the strategies, how to get there. So once we say we need to improve that, it's not enough to say we need to do it. There has to be a clear plan of how to do it and who is going to do it. Who is the responsible person to run a certain phase of this project? Because usually most of the projects fail because there is a very nice idea, we should do something, but then there's no clear path. How are we going to get there? Who is responsible? What is the deadline? So things get lost. Nice ideas get lost in the process. So there are several areas defined by this task force. First was governance. Governance has to do with how you run the federation, how you run your day-to-day business in the federation, yes, how to govern a federation. Then, of course, the area of sport itself. Communication. Communication has always been, let's say, a weak point in the past. It has improved a lot with the establishment of a communication commission. We have a wonderful website now, one of the best websites of sports federations. We are a lot more present in the social media, but we are lacking in the internal communication. We are now quite good communicating to the outside, but not so good communicating on the inside of the federation. So that means communication to the member federations, to the dancers. Yes, communication between the different parts of the WDSF. Sometimes things get lost, or in the sense the information gets lost inside the WDSF itself. Yes, something is done, something has to be communicated. There is no clear path of communication. How is this communication going to be passed to all the concerned parties? So this was one of the things we thought we needed to improve. Broadcasting. We have partners for broadcasting at the moment. We are broadcasting. It's not enough. It doesn't reach enough countries. There's only a select group of events at the moment included in this contracts. So that's one of the areas where also we need some more work. Marketing is a huge area. We're just beginning to touch it. To get a marketing partner, a big sponsor for a federation that is not an Olympic sport, it's quite difficult, yes. So we have now an advisor for marketing, a person who is professionally dealing with marketing, and trying to find suitable partners that could match their product or service to dance sport, to the image of dance sport. Something that would be a good match. Yes. So the first partner we have now at the moment is Swiss, the airline, which is a sort of cooperation. It's not a real sponsor in a right sense, but it's a sort of cooperation providing more, let's say, better prices for dancers who travel, better services on traveling. Yes. So that is the first one. Because these negotiations are confidential, we're being told that in September, October, there will be announcement about a potential sponsor for the WDSF. Then it's popularity. Popularity is directly connected to how much presence you have in the media. Yes. It's very difficult to be a popular sport if you don't appear anywhere. Yes. So we know that our audiences mostly come from dancers, relatives, parents, friends, colleagues of dancers. Only on the very big events we get the outside audience into the hall to watch dance sport. So the popularity has to be increased, and it's connected to marketing, to broadcasting, to communication. So that's a result of that. And then development of the federation as such. What is needed? What is still missing to become a very, very efficient governing body? And as the end goal, of course, the Olympic Games. Yes, that's like a carrot on a stick, you know. It's always far. You're trying to reach it and it moves. So, because they are actually changing the rules all the time. It's like, you know, football, you have a goal. The footballer wants to shoot and somebody moves the goal. So it's like that, you know, every time we have to submit the, let's say, what we have done in the 4-year period for another consideration to come on the short list. You understand how the process, I will explain a little bit how the process works. So you're not that you get directly into the program. First, you have to get on something called a short list. So there are committees, procedures, and 4 or 5 maybe sports get on a short list. So those 5 or 4 will be considered. Not all 55 who applied, yes? And then the decision is made out of that short list. We have never made it to the short list yet. So that's our first goal. Once you make it to the short list, that means that you are now complying with all what they are requiring. So you are a serious candidate. So we have to make it there first. And the rules how to get on short list change. Now the president of the International Olympic Committee has changed. The whole policy changes immediately. His views on what should be in the program, what should not be in the program, are completely different from the previous president. Yes? So we don't know. He is new. The guidelines have not been published yet. And it's then, once they are published, the period is so short. You have a few months to finish the whole thing. And the last time I was involved with this, it was a huge book. It was that thick, what we had to do. What you have to provide, proof of this, proof of that, how you're organized, how you're structured, everything. So there's a lot of people working like crazy for 1 month, 1.5 months to provide that in that short time. And when we provided it, we're not sure if anybody's going to read it. You don't know, yes?
What's the advantage of being part of the Olympic community? I see a lot of sport activities outside the community.
Okay, there is a huge advantage, yeah.
Okay, we are part of the Olympic Games as well, but I think the main parts are outside from the...
Well, we cannot compare. Formula One, it's sponsorship around cars, so we can't compete there. Yes, so it's doesn't matter whether they're in the Olympics or not. For them, it doesn't matter. For us, it would be a huge change. If you know how sport is financed and regarded, especially in Europe, it all depends whether you are an Olympic sport or not. I know in Slovenia, and we have the same sport laws as most of the European Union, there are very small differences. There are categories. So once you're in the first category, you're an Olympic sport, there's plenty of money available, there's plenty of resources available, there is presence in the media automatically available because you become part of an event that is covered in the media. Yes. Let's not say how much popularity an Olympic champion would have. I mean, on the last Olympic Games, our people, our sports people who won the medals, they were national heroes. Yes? So, firstly, it's finance, and the second is presence. Then the result of that, you get an influx of new people coming into the sport. Because everybody would want to be an Olympic champion, or at least an Olympian. I participated at the Olympic Games. I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to do that, yes, once you're in sport. So that's a huge difference, especially in Europe. Outside Europe, not every country has that structure that financing depends on whether you're an Olympic sport or not. But I'm sure that in all the countries, dance sport gets a lot less finance than any Olympic sport. In my own country, we have Olympic sports that have never come even close to a good result, but they're operating with budgets that are 20 times bigger than the Dance Sport Federation. And we have had world champions and we had World Games winners. Doesn't matter. Yes, so that's the main why we are going there. It's not going to change financially so much for the WDSF. It's going to change the finance for the national bodies and for the couples, dancers. To get a sponsor once you say, I'm going to compete in the Olympic Games in 2 years' time, you can get a private sponsor without a problem. You're saying, I'm a dancer, I'm going to go to the World Championship in Latin in 2 years' time. They say, what's that? Yes? Yeah, so, yeah, what type of dancing? Then you have to explain, it's like Dancing with the Stars, because that's the only reference they have, but actually it's not. Yes? So then they're saying, oh, entertainment. Yeah. So the perception is different once you're an Olympic sport. That's the main thing. So we're talking, one of the areas was governance. So to raise the standard of governance. And the first thing that is approached is the ethical part, the ethical norms. So there will be a new commission installed. We will hear about commissions when we will talk about the structure of the WDSF, yes? But commissions are bodies, consultative bodies to the Presidium. They advise the Presidium on a specific area, yes? So an ethics commission is now being proposed to be installed. We already have the first draft of the Code of Ethics. We had a draft of Code of Ethics for the adjudicators and for the athletes, but not for the rest of the people who are involved in the organization itself. Yes? So this will be an all-encompassing Code of Ethics. Then zero tolerance for competition fixing. Yes? Now, competition fixing in most of the sports has to do with betting. You know, I'll bet my money that this team will win against that team. In dance sport, competition fixing, we consider it something else, you know. It's, let's say, agreeing that we're going to support somebody to win or preparing everything that a specific person will win. We don't bet in dance sport, not yet, and I hope we'll never will, but usually most of the sports fall into the trap that somehow you can bet on the result. Yeah. Then we have guidelines for entourage. Now, the term entourage comes from other sports and from the IOC. Entourage means all the accompanying personnel, which accompanies the athletes. So the trainer, the physiotherapist, the hairdresser, whoever is in the team accompanying the competitor. Parents, if they're there, yes? So there have to be guidelines how they have to behave. What are their duties, and what are their responsibilities, and especially what is their code of behavior. There's quite a few problems on competitions with trainers and with persons accompanying athletes. Yes? They don't know their limits, they don't know what they can do and what they cannot do. Yes? So we have now also an entourage commission to be installed. The commission that will work out then these guidelines. The continued fight against doping. That has been going on for a long time. We are quite lucky that dance sport has very rare occasions of doping infringement, and usually they're not really serious ones. They're more in the sense of omission or mistake or something, not deliberate doping. We will have a lecture on doping, and you will see what constitutes a doping infringement. Yes. Now, we already have athletes commission in the WDSF, but the goal is now to establish an athletes commission at national level at every national member body. And if not a full commission, then at least a person who is a representative of athletes. Yes, the athletes have to have a say and a participation in how their national bodies run, and of course how the international bodies run. On the international level, the chair of the Athletes Commission is automatically a member of the Presidium. That's what we're trying to now to sort of present to all the national members, that they have the same structure, that the representative of the athletes has a position in the governing body of the federation. because there is no federation without the athletes. Yes. They are the main core of the federation. So they have to be given more influence on what is going on. As a result of that, also work of the Athletes Commission is to establish an athletes career program. That is something that most of the Olympic federations have. Athletes career program is a program that advises athletes after they have finished their active competition career. Because in other sports, dance sport is maybe a little bit specific, that most of the top-level athletes in dance sport continue their career in dance sport after they have finished competing actively as teachers, coaches, judges, and so on. But in other sports, a lot of them are suddenly left without anything. They finish their competitive career because they were competing on such a high level. They didn't finish their university studies or whatever studies, so they do not have a career. Yes? So the International Olympic Committee has specific programs, counseling, guidance, advising, specialized training to make this transition easier. So what we will do is actually do surveys among the top athletes to see what problems they encounter once they stop competing actively. Are there any specific areas they need help in? And when we started, we found that the specific area they need help in is the business knowledge, yes, the organizing thing. How to organize your own business when you stop dancing. They have the dance knowledge, and there are channels and paths how they can achieve their professional qualifications. That is established, not on the international level yet, but on national levels. But there are no courses in business management, yes, in marketing, which they absolutely need if they want to establish a business for themselves. And then we want to create Youth in Sport Commission. So to target specifically young people coming into dance sport and being in dance sport. What are their specific needs? Yes. And how to attract more young people into dance sport. And one that has to do also with the presence in the media and popularity is to create a World Dance Sport Day. So that would be one day in a year that would be named the World Dance Sport Day, and all over the world there will be events combining all different disciplines of dance sport. So the second important area is sport. Now, there's constant improvements and refinements of the judging system, and it's still going on. The new judging system, one of the lectures will be on the new judging system. There are new developments, new versions of it. It's been tried, tested, refined, adapted, all with the goal of increased objectivity and clear definition of criteria. This year in Stuttgart at German Open, we have again WDSF Adjudicators Congress for 3 days, and 2 of those days will be dedicated specifically to clear definition of criteria of judging. As in all the criteria, what is a certain mark means, what must the couple have to get that kind of mark. Then continuous controls of the judging. A computer system is now in place which gives a red flag if there is a big discrepancy in the judging. So we can always see when somebody goes very far from what, let's say, the average judging is. So then the person can be asked to explain, can be warned on the spot, because the chairman can see that while the judging is going on, real time, not 2 months after. Yes? So those are things that are being done. Stricter sanctions against offenders. So if somebody has been found to either break the ethical norms or do something during judging, which is considered non-ethical or not correct, there are going to be sanctions. And sanctions are going to be published. They're going to be public. They used to be hidden. There was always this, well, you can't put a name, but actually you can. Yes, we have consulted and we were told that you can. If there is a valid sanction, you can put it, make it public. Develop dance sport on all 5 continents. At the moment, we know we have the strongest continent is Europe and the second is Asia. Yes. There is quite a lot of development in South America. North America already has Canada, United States, an established system. South America is rapidly developing. There's been a lot of effort put into that. Yes, a lot of trainers sent to South America to train the teachers there and judges. The continent we're missing is Africa. Very, very low representation. We have been trying for years. It's very difficult. Certain parts of Africa, because of the Islamic culture, it's impossible even to start. Some parts, because of the economic situation and the constant wars and things going on, again, impossible to start. So there are very few areas in Africa where actually it could be developed, but the effort is still going on. Because one of the criteria for the inclusion of the Olympic Games is strong representation on all 5 continents. And the last one is increase universal representation on the medal podium. What does that mean? We usually see the medal podium and it's Russia, Italy, Germany, as few countries that are represented on the medals. It's not universal in the sense that the dance sport would be so developed in most of the part of the world that we could see Argentina on the medal podium or South Africa. Yes, so that is one of our weak spots. It's quite predictable. It's Europe mostly. Yes. Now, to improve communication, now on what basis we want to improve it? To develop this narrow perception of ballroom dancing into dance sport. So to change the mindset of the people, how they think about dance sport. To present this multitude dance styles, diverse dance styles, to attract also young people. Young people will be very difficultly attracted to standard. Tail suits, long dresses, a lot of rhinestones, hairstyles. Nowadays, young people are watching hip-hop, they're watching street dance, they're listening to that music. So maybe through that door, they can come in somehow. But we have to include all the dance styles that are now present. We have to enlarge the participant base. So how many people are actually practicing dance sport? The larger the base, the more interesting you are for sponsors, for media. Everything changes once your base gets large enough. To create a modern sport, a lot of aspects of dance sport, Latin and standard, have a little bit an old-fashioned ring to them, yes? So there's a need to a little bit modernize it. And to become all-inclusive, we already talked about that, the efforts to include all generations, to include people with disabilities, all ages. Now, in the area of communication, we need to develop an efficient public relations strategy, improve internal communication, maximize presence on the website and in the social media, improve content for broadcasters. So improve what we are presenting on the competition itself, so it becomes more interesting for a broadcaster. The need to reach more audience worldwide, to shape and deliver messages to the membership and outside world, especially the one to the membership, because a lot of problems becomes from miscommunication. We are not able to communicate properly our intentions to our members, and then we get a lot of opposition. And once we explain, actually the opposition usually goes away. So we were at fault because we didn't explain properly in the way that our member federations, athletes would understand. Form alliances with strong media partners. Get more coverage of prime events, also on a national level. Trying to get the national members to get TV coverage of their championships or of their international WDSF events. And the last, but very important, improve quality and quantity of information provided by the WDSF Academy to dancers and officials, trainers, judges. Now, in broadcasting, there are two areas the Commission, or let's say the advisors are working on. One is to develop a TV format of competition that would be interesting for broadcasted for youth. At the moment, we have the Grand Slam and we have the major championships that are being broadcasted. But we need an event that is specifically targeted at young athletes. And we need to improve in-venue entertainment for TV transmission. That means in-venue entertainment is what goes on between the rounds of the competition. As sometimes there is nothing, and sometimes there's something of bad quality, which actually the broadcaster doesn't want to put into their short slot they have available. But they need something to fill in always. Yes? So that it has to be also our job to provide and to liaise with organizers to provide a quality entertainment in between, something connected to dance sport, but that can be included in the broadcast. Another discipline, I don't know, another format of event. Yes? The couples who had been present at World Games or Grand Slams know that they will have been instructed how to behave in the kiss and cry area. Yeah? You know what we mean by kiss and cry area? It's when the couple is positioned in front of a specific background and they're waiting for the results. Yes? And some of our athletes were like frozen, you know, like they get a great result and they get a bad result, no reaction. Yeah? So if we want to be telegenic, yeah, it's a real word now. It's telegenic, which means you look good on television. It's like photogenic, you look good on a picture. Yeah? So there has to be some emotional connection between the viewer and the athlete. So the viewer must have a reaction to the athlete's reaction. They're so happy that they won, or they're really disappointed. Yes. But nothing neutral. So we also have to get used to television as a media. How do we present ourselves? Now, we have to work on popularity, of course, to extend the presence in social media, to communicate with young people, to connect the image of the sport with current trends, promote dance sport among the young generation, and use the popularity of dance shows to increase the popularity of the sport. So we have to ride sort of on coattails of Dancing with the Stars. Somehow we have to connect our wagon to that engine and use whatever popularity we can get from there. One is our athletes who are dancing in such shows. Now, the development area, we still don't have a qualifying system for trainers and judges, so they would get an international qualifications on top of their national qualification. Then we need to have a scheme to train the trainers. It's always this pyramid. The training starts at the top. You train the top trainers train the next level, the next level. The next level goes down to the athletes. You don't start from the bottom. You train the athletes. As a world organization, you train the, let's say, examiners or top trainers from the federation. Review the dress regulation. You will have a lecture on dress regulation as it is now, currently has been changed in June, but there has to be a radical review because the image of dance sport is wrong. The image of dance sport for this year 2014 is completely wrong. The dress, the male dress, the makeup, the hairstyle, the long nails, the fake tan, everything is so over the top that it does not connect to reality. It does not connect to reality as it is outside dance sport. Yes? So we will have to tone down, probably, if we want to enter the mainstream media. Yes? If you remember any film that has been done, it has been sort of a little bit of parody to dance sport. Yeah? So it didn't show us in the best possible light. Implement grooming guidelines, which relates to this, fake tan things, yes, and then tan streaking down after the first round. The dress is dirty. The white shirt is not white anymore, it's brown. Would any of you guys go out on a Friday night in a dirty shirt that has brown? I don't think so. So why is it okay to dance in it on a major competition and be televised all over the world wearing a dirty shirt? You either don't wear a white shirt or you don't have anything that comes down on that white shirt. So just normal guidelines that we would use to go out on a special event, you know. Imagine you want to go to a wedding. Would you wear that? Would you wear the fake tan running down? I don't think so. So why is this, which is what you do, which is the center of your life, really, dance sport, why is it worth less than what you would go to a wedding or to a party? Or so no problem. I have half-torn shoes. I have a dirty dress. I can't understand it. I come from a generation where there was no fake tan. Nothing. You put a little makeup on and a dress and shoes. And you were the color you are. So, so it's a bit difficult. So the last one then is now our final goal. Olympic Games. Now to determine, we need to determine what is the added value that dance sport would bring to the Olympic Games. When we present dance sport as a candidate, we have to say, what are we bringing to the Olympic Games that nobody else can bring? So what would you gain by taking dance sport? Yes? And one criteria absolutely is telegenic. Olympic Games are a business. Don't kid yourself that it's anything else. It's a big, huge business at the end. It depends on how much revenue they will get from television and sponsors. And the more the sport attracts television audience, the more sponsorship that event or that discipline will get, the more money is going to come in to the host city, to the Olympic Committee, and at the end, to the federation itself. So we need to become a very telegenic sport. We need to include dance sport in as many multi-sport games as possible. The multi-sport games are games that are for sports that are not in the Olympic program. World Games, for example. And we are already take part there. We are not in the European Games. We are not at the University Games at the moment. Mediterranean Games, Pan American Games. There are still a lot of events where we need to break the door and come in. Yes? And it's a lot of work being done on that. But we're not there. We're in all the Asian Games, which is a great achievement. And we are in the World Games. Yes. We are in the Master Games, which are aimed to the population over 30. Then we have to decide on the discipline that is being proposed to the IOC. That is a hot potato. Yes. So, are we going to propose Latin, standard, hip-hop? We don't know. Because we will probably get some guidelines. But of course, the core of the federation is Latin and standard, and of course the wish of the discipline would be either one of those. The ideal discipline would be formation, but it's prohibitive because of the number of athletes that would take place. When you get, let's say, on a short list, they will tell you how many athletes you can have on the Olympic Games. They will limit the number to limit the cost. So formation by itself, 16 in one formation, and you need to represent all 5 continents and so on. It's out automatically. Then we need to develop the federation to the highest possible level in the organization, in how the sport is developed, how it's controlled, the judging system when it's one of our weak spots, yes, this is how we judge and what is being judged, yes. So in order to be considered for inclusion to the shortlist. Now in 2015, the new review of all IOC federations will be required. That is also when they will require all this new paperwork to come in, and they will start thinking about the shortlist. Yes. So as you see, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Most of you just probably think, oh, WDSF, it's a federation, there's some people sitting there, and they decide everything, and we don't really know what it is. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people working in different commissions, in different groups, in national federations to contribute to the development of the World Sport Federation. Yes? And that's top body. And you have to know how it's structured, what does it do, how it works, because knowledge is power. If you know how it works, if you know what different bodies do, if you know where you have to go if you need something or if there is a problem, if you know exactly how to deal with that, that makes you stronger. Yes? When you don't know anything, you're weak. Something happens to you, you have a complaint, you have no idea how to deal with it, so probably nothing will happen. Yes? It's good to be informed. As you know, once you start competing at the international level, you become a member of the WDSF. Now you have the ID card. Once you sign that application form, you have signed that you are responsible to abide by all the rules and regulations, including anti-doping. Now it's your responsibility to know the rules. Because if you don't know them, you can break them without knowing. Yes? So this is the first lecture of these 3 days regarding the WDSF. I hope there is some useful information, and we will deal with the other aspects in later lectures. Thank you.